I thought it probably made more sense to just start with our purpose for being here today. I teach a 2-day course on autism, and so when we were presenting posters for AOTA last year, my favorite part of the 2-day course is to talk about early diagnosis. How do we pick up these kids at an earlier age so hopefully we can get good referrals for them, we can get them into intervention earlier, because clearly our studies show that the earlier we get these kids into intervention, the better outcomes that we have. And personally, having my first granddaughter and being able to see typical development again at a different place in my career, I'm amazed at how early you begin to see social referencing and how different the visual system is in our typical kids and how different the motor movement patterns are. So it's been intriguing to me to kind of have my comparison of the research I've read about our studies looking at early diagnosis of autism and then watching my granddaughter and saying, oh yeah, okay, yeah, I can see this. Whenever you prepare a course or a poster, you do a lot of reading of the literature. So I am going to give you, and it's at the back of your notes, a fairly extensive literature list of research studies that I've read through, so you don't have to unless you want to. And then, as I said, our second purpose here is really just to help you and to help you help parents and teachers know when to refer these kids. And that's such a caveat too, because we have kids that we send for referral and we're sure they have autism, and they come back and the doctor's like, no, they're fine. And then you're like, really? You're really telling me this kid doesn't have a diagnosis? And then we have other kids that go, that like I have a kiddo right now that the mom really wants to get this diagnosis. And I said, I don't believe he's on the autistic spectrum. I do believe he has social communication disorder, which is our old NVLD. So when we transitioned to the DSM-5, you know that autism became a spectrum. So Asperger's syndrome is gone, PDD, NOS is gone, and we have this spectrum. Well, the kids that are kind of the outliers, they created a second diagnosis for. It's called social communication disorder. And it has all of the difficulties with pragmatic language, nonverbal communication, reading social cues, but it doesn't have the repetitive behaviors, the echolalia, the scripting, the lining toys up. So it's all our NVLD kids, all our nonverbal learning disabilities kids. But this mom is set to get a diagnosis of autism. Why? Because then her insurance is going to cover therapies for him. So we have both ends in terms of the diagnosis, but we still know that we want to get these kids and families as much support as we can.